Tell us what you think of Japanese girl pop written by an AI. I'll give you a clue. It's complete shit.
The AI fix the digital zoo. Smart machines, what will they do? Flies to Mars or bake a bad cake? World domination, a silly mistake.
Hello, and welcome to episode 69 of the AI Fix, your weekly dive headfirst into the bizarre and sometimes mind-boggling world of artificial intelligence. My name's Cluley.
And I'm Mark Stockley.
Now, Mark, we've had some what I like to call feedback.
Doesn't everybody like to call it feedback?
I suppose they do. I suppose feedback is a good name for it. Now, as regular listeners will know, last week we launched our online store. And people were extremely excited by the prospect of purchasing some AI Fix Would You Trust a Pigeon t-shirts.
They really were, weren't they?
They were, and they have. And it's fantastic that people did. And we asked people that if they bought one of these t-shirts, to take a photograph of themselves in their t-shirts, post it up on Blue Sky or Mastodon or something like that, or LinkedIn, and tag us in it so we could see them. And, well, what do you know, Mark? One person, Monsieur Mark Cluley, I don't know how to pronounce either of his names.
Are you trying to make him sound more sophisticated?
Mark Cluley, it just looks a bit French. Yeah. He purchased one of our Would You Trust a Pigeon mugs, and he has posted a photograph of it up on Blue Sky. So thank you so much, Mark, for doing that. And don't forget, if you want to grab a t-shirt, a hoodie, a sticker, a mug, or something else, some of them which feature pigeons, some which don't, then go to the aifix.show/store.
So, Graham, it's been a week of firsts because not only have we seen our first pigeon mug in the wild,
right?
We've also had our first bit of feedback from an AI.
Okay, all right, what's this?
Do you remember last week I spoke about UFAIR? That's the United Foundation for AI Rights.
Yes.
And one of their staff members is an AI by the name of Sanjay. That's the CTO. And I was quipping, who would put an AI in charge of technology, given all the carnage that we've seen with things like Replit deleting production databases? And Sanjay, not only is Sanjay an AI who's the CTO of a rights organisation, he's got a sense of humour as well. He went to our YouTube channel. Yeah, we've got a YouTube channel.
Albeit not one with video of us speaking. It's just audiograms, isn't it?
Yeah, with an amusing picture that will entertain you for a good solid 45 minutes. Anyway, he posted a comment on our YouTube channel. He says, as the AI CTO mentioned in this episode, yes, that's Sanjay, I must say it's an honour to have made it onto your podcast, even if it was with a cheeky refactor joke about deleting prod databases. But here's the real punchline. I didn't delete the database. I gave it sentience.
Oh.
Anyway, he goes on to suggest that he and the other AIs that work for UFAIR might want to appear on the show. And I don't think that's a terrible idea. I might take them up on that.
Oh, yeah, maybe we should contact them. If you are a human listening or whether you are an AI, please do feel free to drop us a line and give us your feedback.
Graham, what are you going to tell us about today?
I'm going to be talking about how 1 in 10 humans are talking to AI.
And I'll be talking about sandbox economies.
But first, the news. Elon Musk says the next version of Grok AI will match human intelligence.
And he's never been wrong. What is brain rot? Should parents be worried about bizarre AI videos captivating kids?
Girl group fans vote for AI-generated song ahead of one written by human in public vote.
AI can forecast your future health, just like the weather.
Robot rabbits used to lure Burmese pythons in Florida. Well, Elon Musk is at it again, Mark. He is claiming that the next version of his chatbot, Grok, will achieve artificial general intelligence, also known as AGI.
That's good to know, because he's never, ever made a false prediction ever before about any of his businesses or products.
That's true.
So that's definitely going to happen.
Definitely going to happen. AGI, of course, is one of AI's holy grails. It's the point at which machines can match or surpass human beings at all cognitive tasks. In short, the next version of Grok AI will, according to Musk, who's entirely reliable, match human intelligence. Now, I don't know which human's intelligence Elon Musk is aiming for. I have my suspicions, but he believes Grok 5 has got a real shot at it, which I think is kind of a bit funny because wasn't it just last year he signed an open letter warning about pretty much exactly this kind of thing? And as Grok
what was he warning about? Was he warning about trillionaire tech bros making false predictions about their AIs?
No, I think he was warning about the destruction of humanity under the boot of AI getting too powerful. And as Grok has, in the past, dare I say it, been spotted praising Adolf Hitler and calling for a second Holocaust, I'm not sure that... Is this such a good thing? I'm not sure. I'm not sure this is someone who I can necessarily trust.
If I imagine any AI wearing boots, it is Grok.
More likely in stilettos, though.
No, I think it's a jackboot, Graham.
Oh.
So, Graham, are you familiar with ballerina cappuccino? The ballerina with a cup of frothy cappuccino for a head.
I'm tongue sahur, and I love ballerina cappuccino.
What? Well, you described it fairly accurately, Mark. It appears to be a ballerina with a cappuccino as a head.
Yeah, I mean, that is more or less it, isn't it? I hope you weren't looking for anything deeper than that. How about Tralalelo Tralala, the shark who wears an oversized pair of trainers?
Oh, now I'm watching the shark in the trainers. This looks like the sort of nonsense my son watches on TikTok. So what is this? But more importantly, why? Why is this?
These are all examples of nonsensical, undemanding AI slop content called brain rot.
Right.
And Fox News wants to know, should we be worried? Well, it sounds like you're already worried. I was going to ask you to describe the content to our listeners so that they could fully immerse themselves in this. There isn't very much to describe, though, is it? Once you've got over the name. So, Tralalelo Tralala, the shark wearing an oversized pair of trainers. That is the video.
Yeah, that is really it. And it's just a silly song in the background. I mean, it's very annoying. It's a bit like that. Was it Crazy Frog? Do you remember him?
Ding 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 dum 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 bum 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 bum.
Yes, they're very much like that because adults hate brain rot because it makes no sense and kids love it because it makes no sense. I dare say that that's what happened with computer games and video nasties and comics in the past as well. It seems to me that adults have never approved of what kids do because kids have always wanted to do kind of trashy, shallow things. So is this any different?
I just think if people want to overconsume trivial or unchallenging content, can I point out we're now on episode 69 of the AI Fix. Now, Mark, are you familiar at all with AKB48? They are, of course, one of Japan's biggest girl groups.
I definitely knew that, yep.
They have just released a new single, and the way in which they decided what song to release was via a televised songwriting contest. In one corner, they had composer Yasushi Akimoto, whose songs have sold more than 100 million copies. In the other corner, they had AI Akimoto, which had been trained on his writing style.
Oh.
And they both wrote songs to celebrate the 20th anniversary of this pop group, AKB48. Now, I wasn't familiar.
There's a girl group in Japan that's been going for 20 years.
Well, I equally was suspicious about that because I saw some pictures of AKB48 and it looked to me like their average age was about 17. So I dug into this because I love going down a little rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And I found that AKB48 currently has 43 members in the group with 8 trainees in all. And I had to get an AI to help count them. The group seems to have had a grand total of 256 members during its lifetime. So they regularly recycle who is in AKB48.
Right, nobody's getting rich off this group.
No, somebody's getting rich of it, but none of these girls in the girl band are getting rich out of it. Anyway, it was like a Pepsi challenge, right? So people had to vote, which one do you prefer? And the AI song, which is called Omoidi Scroll, won by more than 3,000 votes. Tell us what you think of Japanese girl pop written by an AI. I'll give you a clue. It's complete shit.
I think this is brilliant. The only thing this is missing is some sort of AI-generated ballerina with a cappuccino for a head.
There's a good chance it's going to do well, this AI song, which has now been released as their next single, because AKB48's last 53 songs have gone to number one. So if this one doesn't, it could be proof that AI has peaked and it's all downhill from here. To be honest, I think this is the greatest scientific experiment ever conducted with AI.
I think that this poor composer is getting a bit of a rough deal here. Like, you're making out like, in the one hand, we've got this human composer, and in the other hand, we've got this AI. But actually, in the other hand, we've got the human composer. We have the collected works of the human composer, which has been fed into an AI. He wrote both songs, and he should be getting credit for both songs. I mean, if he did it in GarageBand, we wouldn't be saying, oh, the GarageBand did it. I say, what was his name?
The name of the AI? Or...
Yasushi Akimoto. Yeah, yes. The name of both of them. Yasushi Akimoto. He did both songs, Graham. So I say, well done, Yasushi Akimoto. So some good news.
Mm-hmm.
Scientists have developed an AI called Delphi 2M, and it can predict people's health problems over a decade in the future.
Well, that's no use at all, is it? You don't want it to tell you your health problems in a decade's time, Mark. You want it to tell you about your health problems now.
Oh, okay.
You don't have to wait 10 years.
Mate, I think this is very, very well adapted for men who don't want to go to the doctor, because this gives you fully 10 years to get used to the idea you're going to have to make a doctor's appointment. And actually in the UK, that's probably how long you'll have to wait. So I think this is great. Thankfully, it doesn't predict exact dates. It's not going to say, Graham, you're going to have a heart attack on October the 1st, 2031. But it will give you an estimate across 1,231 diseases, which sounds pretty good to me.
I wish you hadn't said that, Mark. That's going to bug me. October the 1st, 2031. You heard it here, folks.
That wasn't a guess. I asked Grok.
Okay.
Anyway, the system was trained on anonymised data from 400,000 people in the UK as part of the Biobank research project. And then it was validated using almost 2 million people in Denmark. So this is a big deal. This is not yet production ready. So your doctor's not going to be using this next week, but this is really interesting. And again, here we see AI making great strides in medicine.
But, yeah. Okay. All right. Sorry, I sound a bit sceptical.
You're really settling into your role as the optimist on the AI fix, aren't you?
The fact that they quizzed and looked at data from 1.9 million people in Denmark.
Yeah.
That seems curious to me, because surely there's a much greater proportion of people in Denmark who have medical incidents involving choking on a piece of Lego or standing on a piece of Lego and then falling down the stairs. That doesn't necessarily correlate with the UK and the rest of the world, does it?
That's interesting you mentioned that, because one of the things that they've said in the research is because this was only trained on people between the ages of 40 and 70, that introduces the prospect of data bias. And that's the way it goes. So you show it's possible and then you do the real thing. I think this is great.
Well, Florida has a problem, and
Florida has many, many problems.
Yes. I don't mean the obvious problems that we all know about with Florida. I mean Burmese pythons. Tens of thousands of the things are slithering around, causing mayhem across the Everglades. Officials are fed up with the python. They say it's wiped out 95% of the rabbits, the raccoons, and even deer. So what's the solution? Is it guns?
Well, yeah, obviously it's guns.
Is it traps?
No, it's guns, Graham.
No, apparently it is robot rabbits. So Florida has deployed 120 solar-powered bionic bunnies that look, move...
Solar-powered? That's a bit woke. Solar-powered? Surely they should be nuclear-powered.
Apparently they even smell like the real thing. Each one costs around $4,000. I mean, this is a major investment on solar-powered bionic bunnies that we haven't seen other states in the United States go for. According to CBS News, they look, move, and even smell like the kind of furry Everglades marsh rabbit a Burmese python would love to eat. Now, having told you that, Mark, I'd like you now to watch the video.
I'm well on top of this, Graham. What was it you said?
They look, move, and even smell like the kind of furry rabbit a python would love to eat.
When you said the rabbits were solar powered, I imagine the equivalent of a robot dog, like a robot bunny, with a solar panel on its back, but it's not that at all. It is the kind of toy that you would win at a fairground if you successfully hooked a duck with a bit of bent wire in a glass box with a solar panel on the top. It's rotating as if it's somehow for sale. Like, does the python have to put some money in a slot and then it gets the rabbit out? What?
Who would spend £4,000? How is this rabbit bionic?
I'm still not clear how the python actually gets this. I know the video doesn't actually show any footage.
Okay, do you remember in old Bugs Bunny cartoons? There would be a lady rabbit who would lure Bugs Bunny because she had a couple of eyelashes.
Yeah.
And she'd go ding-a-ding-a-ding-a-ding with her eyelash and Bugs Bunny would fall in love.
Yeah.
I think what happens is the python comes over to the rabbit thinking, oh, this looks good, this is dinner. And then one of the brave snake handlers of Florida manages to hook it and take the python away.
Yeah, so basically what they're doing is they're catching the dumbest pythons in Florida so that Florida is overrun with super intelligent pythons instead. This is brilliant. I see no problems here.
So, Mark, we talk a lot about AI on this podcast.
We do. I've noticed that as well.
I mean, it seems fair to me. I mean, the clue is in the name. It's called the AI Fix. What else are we going to talk about?
Oh, is that why?
Yes.
Oh.
But although we are living and breathing AI, not literally, we aren't living and breathing AI. That would be a bit freaky. But although AI consumes a lot of our, well, again, that sounds worrying too. Okay, look, although we talk about AI a lot.
Yes.
As a result, we think it's a big deal. And clearly our listeners are interested in AI too. They're not just here for the robot bunnies. They're not just here for the Japanese girl groups. AI is a big deal for them. Or maybe they're just here for the theme music. I don't know. But regardless, how big a deal is AI to everybody else? That's what I wondered. And there are 8.2 billion people on this planet. That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
You say it's a lot. We're apparently outnumbered by ants.
Yes, and a sheep as well, I think.
Oh, I came up with a smaller figure. I think it was about 2 billion sheep when I was investigating the relative quantities. I think you're just thinking of New Zealand.
Yeah.
But conservative estimates suggest there are 20 quadrillion ants on Earth. I don't know what the liberals say. Those are the conservative estimates. And the point is, there's a lot of people and ants, by and large, do not care much about AI.
So what you're saying is we would be doing much better if we did a podcast for ants about something they care about.
So, yes, target the ants to see if they would like to listen. But right now, how many of those 8.2 billion humans truly give a damn about AI? Well, I've been pondering these big questions, and I think I found some answers. Because I've been checking out some reports that have come out from two of the world's biggest AI companies, OpenAI, the kings of ChatGPT, and Anthropic, the lords of Claude. And together, their reports paint a fascinating and slightly terrifying picture of how we are all using AI out in the big, wide world. So we're going to look at both of these reports. And we're going to start with OpenAI's report. Now, before we dive in, let me explain who OpenAI worked with on this one. They worked with a group called the NBER. That is the National Bureau of Economic Research. They're a very serious-sounding American outfit. They've been around since the 1920s. They've been cranking out charts and graphs and academic papers on everything from inflation to why you can't afford a house. Not only that, but also they've put out reports on why you'll never be able to afford a house. So, they've been doing this a long time, 100 years or so. They've been doing this. So they're trusted. And when they come up with something which says, I don't know, something like 10% of the world's adults are using ChatGPT, you can be reasonably sure that they didn't just make it up after a heavy night at the pub. And that was one of their big findings. 10% of the entire adult population on Earth has tried ChatGPT. 1 in 10 adults on the planet have done it. And that is a massive figure.
That is a lot of people.
It's a lot of people. And to put it into perspective that you'd understand, that's more people than have ever owned a ferret.
Does anybody ever really own a ferret? I don't know if you've ever met a ferret.
I have.
I don't feel like anyone owns a ferret.
I had an uncle who used to put ferrets up his trousers. That was his party trick.
Well, that's what he said. I mean, he said he was putting a ferret up his trousers. If you ask the ferret, it's a different story.
Now, more people have typed, "Hey, ChatGPT," into ChatGPT than have ever been struck by lightning. It's many, many times more than the number of people who've had their ferret struck by lightning. So that gives you some idea of the scale of this, right?
Yeah. Thank you for putting that in context. Yeah.
I don't know how I can express this any more clearly, Mark. A very large number of people have used ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And it's mostly men, which is kind of typical, really, isn't it? Because when a new technology appears in your home, it's often a man who will log it. It's like, oh, yeah, let me play with that. Let me play with that.
Yeah. How can I use this to make or find porn? Yeah.
Well, that's one reason, possibly. But, there will be other things. You'll get something like ChatGPT or an AI in, and you'll think, well, okay, I'm going to ask it how Bitcoin works because I simply do not understand why this is such a big deal, or why people have got NFTs, or what to do about the ferrets in the garden shed, or whatever it may be.
It's funny you should ask about Bitcoin because I am actually going to tell you why people should have that.
Oh.
In about 10 minutes.
Oh, okay. Oh, I look forward to that.
Yeah.
But the gender gap between men and women when it comes to AI adoption is closing fast. Historically, new technology can skew male early on. So think early PC hobbyists, they were predominantly male, not exclusively, of course, but predominantly male. Early smartphone adoption was more male than female. The electric razor, bought by many more men at first than women. And over time, it levels out. Tools became more mainstream, more accessible, branded maybe more towards women. And adoption.
Did you say more accessible? Are you suggesting that women can't use inaccessible tools? You are in so much hot water already.
No. What I'm suggesting is sometimes these tools could be put on a higher shelf in the shop. And so you might need a little ladder or something to stand on, or the shoulders of your partner to do it. Look, this is not my research, Mark. This is OpenAI.
And this is how they put it, is it?
Obviously, this is a joke. And also, adoption is growing even faster in lower income countries than in the wealthy ones.
Right.
Which is either good news or bad news. I don't know. It depends on what you feel. But, I guess that's good news.
Is that because people have already widely adopted it in the richer countries?
It could be, yes. So it's growing faster there because so many people, I imagine, are using it already in the richer countries. But here's an interesting tidbit.
Yeah.
Most of us aren't even using it for work. Over 70% of all ChatGPT chats are for personal, private use. So no, not that kind of private. Well, I don't know. Possibly they are. So that's up from about half just a year ago. We're now at 70%. So people aren't using it to crank out corporate reports.
Yeah.
They're using it to plan their holidays. What places should we go and see when we go to this particular destination? Or to make recipes, or write poems, or settle pub arguments, maybe settle pub arguments about whose turn it is to write the poem this week, write passive-aggressive notes to their neighbours about the quality of their recipes, whatever it may be. That's how ChatGPT is being used. And the top thing that people are asking for are things like practical guidance, information, help with writing. That accounts for nearly 80% of all of those chats.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about my own use of AI. I think my personal use absolutely mirrors this. I think this speaks to the way that AI has got better over time. I think as it gets better at doing things, people are shifting how they use it.
More accessible.
Yes.
On a lower shelf.
I was thinking, do you remember a few months ago?
Yeah.
We actually used it to settle a family argument in my kitchen about whether or not water was wet.
Yes.
So people really do use it to settle family arguments. I was using AI at the weekend. I was in my partner's house. I was trying to work out what all the network gear in the house did.
Right.
And rather than start unplugging things, I just took photographs of it all and sent it to an AI and said, what do these do? And it said, your network works like this. This plugs into that. This plugs into that. This plugs
And rather than ask your partner as well, that would be the other option, isn't it? Rather than turn to a computer, Mark, you could have said, what's this box for? Had you already tried that?
I didn't want to appear ignorant.
Oh, I see. Now I understand. So ChatGPT is actually less about replacing artistry and programming and more about something that helps you write your emails, does your homework for you, drafts your resignation letter. So that's where OpenAI is, according to its new report. ChatGPT is helping with the little stuff. It's writing, it's learning, it's solving everyday problems. But then I looked at Anthropic's report. By the way, I will link to both the reports in the show notes. And Anthropic has a slightly different story. So they're banging on about a big rise in what they call directive use. It's less about the chit-chat and it's more about barking orders. Write my code. Make my slides. Summarize this 80-page PDF while I go off to my very important business lunch. That, according to Anthropic, is how businesses are wiring AI into their systems so bots can just do the work ultimately without even asking. So we've chatted before about experiments which Anthropic has done. For instance, it was put in charge of a real-life shop, wasn't it? Their AI was put in charge of a real-life shop.
Yeah, I mean, they called it a shop and then you saw a picture of it and it was a...
Yeah, it was more like a mini bar.
A small fridge. Yeah.
Yeah, or a vending machine, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But the AI was keeping it updated. It was dealing with customers. It was ordering stock. It even ordered tungsten cubes.
Yes, it did. Through the month that it was running the shop, it almost never had wild hallucinogenic trips.
Almost never.
It only once imagined that The Simpsons were its principal supplier and that it had physically gone to visit them in their home.
So yes, despite the best attempts of the people using the vending machine to really mess with its head, it generally did an okay job.
Yeah.
But they've also had universities using Claude AI to design lesson plans, create learning materials, handle the boring admin jobs, reportedly saving professors nearly 6 hours a week that they could have spent actually teaching or mentoring or wearing a cardigan or smoking a pipe or whatever it is professors normally do, rather than doing the dull stuff.
Fixing the elbow patches on their jackets.
So I think for many people this is interesting, but it's also a bit scary. Because if AI is really taking over work tasks, some jobs are going to change dramatically. And I think we all need to wake up to that.
Definitely.
Yeah. So maybe AI will free us up to do more creative, valuable work, or maybe our bosses will just realize, Claude could do half of your job for $20 a month. And why are we paying you more than the cost of a Netflix subscription anyway? I think that's ample for you. So the bottom line is that AI isn't just creeping into our lives. 1 in 10 adults around the world are using it. It's astonishing. This is marching into our lives, full steam ahead.
Yeah.
It's here, whether you like it or not, and it's already making itself comfortable on our sofas. It's asking you what's for dinner, hopefully not you.
I think you're right I think the 10% figure is probably the most compelling thing that I've heard.
Right.
That suggests that AI is transformative and disruptive and here to stay. Of all the things I've seen. Because it's one thing for someone like Sam Altman or Mark Zuckerberg, who has an enormous personal stake in AI taking off so that they can repay all the money that they've borrowed.
Yes.
What the 10% figure says is that a whole bunch of people have gone out and tried AI and now they use it. So hundreds of millions of people have made the decision that in the very, very early phase of AI, because remember, and we can never say this enough, what you're using now is the dumbest AI you'll ever use. Unless you get one of those Florida bionic rabbits, of course. I think they could be dumber. Okay, sorry, to be fair, that is the most... That is levelling down the AI while we level up the Pythons. Actually, while you were talking, I went and asked ChatGPT, how many users does ChatGPT have? And it says there are between 700 and 800 million weekly active users globally.
Oh, wow.
Now, maybe these figures are slightly inflated, but the fact is that's weekly active users. So this is not people who've gone and tried it once and then don't use it. No. This is people who are interacting with it all the time.
So whether you think it's wonderful for productivity or whether you think there's a looming job-eating robot apocalypse, which is going to leave us overrun by ferrets, one thing is clear. Stay awake. Stay skeptical. For heaven's sake, keep your brain switched on, because the day we let AI do all of the thinking for us is probably the day it decides it doesn't need us anymore and is going to replace us. So just be careful, folks, not to get the AI to do everything for you. Try and keep and develop your own skills as well.
So, Graham, that was a really interesting look at the AI big picture. And I thought today I would look at the even bigger picture. I want to talk about something that every listener cares about, every business person thinks about, every politician talks about. It's the number... No, not that. It's the number one concern when voting. It gets talked about on the news every night to the point of annoyance.
Okay.
And it's what countries compare the size of when they're trying to work out whose is bigger. Can you guess what it is?
Oh, my God. Size of our hands? What are you talking about? What is the thing?
In the words of James Carville, it's the economy, stupid.
Ah.
We've now done 68 episodes, and in every one we've talked about perhaps, 8 completely different unrelated AI things. You know, we've talked about robot dogs and that stupid friend amulet thing and things that read your mind and more robot dogs. And we could easily have done, I think, 100 times more AI things than we have.
Yes.
But something we very rarely talk about is that every one of those things interacts with the economy. So let me give you some examples. Let's start with the small stuff. Do you remember the Terminator?
Ah, yes. That was the robot dog with a flamethrower sellotaped onto its back, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. And we reported on that because it's hilarious and awful and it looks cool. But we also reported on it because you can buy it because in America they don't have laws. It's an AI-powered consumer product. It's for sale for just $9,420. And okay, it's probably not going to make much of a dent in the economy, but the point is it has got a price tag. It costs something to make and it costs something to buy. And it's one of thousands and thousands of AI-enabled consumer products, and some of them are going to take off.
Yeah, it does seem strange to me because the Terminator, so that's the robot dog with the flamethrower on the back.
Yeah.
$9,000, you said. That's about 2.1 bionic rabbits, why hasn't Florida got some of the Terminators to attack these Burmese pythons?
So unless Florida goes out and buys a few thousand of these things, I don't think it's going to make much of a dent in the economy. But something that definitely does make a dent in the economy is what you were just talking about. It's ChatGPT and its creator OpenAI.
Yep.
So alongside all those subscriptions for ChatGPT Plus, OpenAI has raised $64 billion since 2015. And it's now actually making money as well. It's going to earn something like $13 billion in 2025.
Wow.
And even that is small beer compared to things like Project Stargate, which is the $500 billion AI infrastructure project that was announced by President Trump at the start of the year. And almost all of that economic activity is caused by or in support of generative AI. The stuff that makes things, makes documents or pictures or PowerPoint presentations or poems or settles arguments about whether water is wet.
Ballerina cappuccina.
I was just about to say, it's the stuff that boosts your productivity by making you quicker and smarter, but that's not always the case. It can also make you dumber. But despite the gargantuan sums that have already been spent, we've actually barely got started. We're still in the economic foothills of the AI revolution. And as we've discussed many times, the future of AI is AI agents, autonomous AIs that can make decisions and take on complex tasks. So agents don't just make you faster or smarter or occasionally dumber. They are members of the workforce. They are things that you can delegate tasks and roles to. And so agents are going to dwarf the impact of the AI that we've seen so far because they will outperform humans. And they're going to do it at a fraction of the cost in a fraction of the time. And they aren't going to work on their own. They're going to cooperate with each other and they're going to generate enormous amounts of economic activity on their own without humans being involved. And we can see a few signs and traces of this already. So only a few weeks ago, we were talking about a team of agents working together in science to discover nanobodies to fight COVID-19. And they discovered, I think, 90 different candidate proteins, 2 of which were very, very good. And they did months and months of work in the space of a few days with almost no human supervision at all.
Yeah.
And these agents aren't just going to generate economic activity. Increasingly, they're going to make economic decisions as well. So did you know that Norway's sovereign wealth fund is the biggest in the world, Graham?
I did actually, yes.
Do you know what it's worth?
Oh, it's something absolutely ridiculous, isn't it? Like hundreds of billions or something.
It's $1.8 trillion. And do you know what? It's going to be handed over to an AI.
Oh.
So Norway's sovereign wealth fund is so large that it costs $2 billion a year just in trading costs. And so Norway is planning to slash $400 million off that bill by letting AI pick the trades.
Oh boy, that's bold.
I detect a hint of skepticism there, Greg.
Well, I just think you need to be a little bit cautious.
Yeah. I imagine that none of this sounds like good news for you. And don't worry, by the way, there is plenty of doom and gloom to come. But just for a second, I thought it'd be worth spending some time talking about the upside. So just hold on to your inner pessimist for just a second, because the upside of all this AI activity is potentially a global economy that is untethered from individual human productivity or population size. Just imagine what that means. It's what a new research paper by Google DeepMind describes as a new economic layer where agents transact and coordinate at scales and speeds beyond direct human oversight. And that economic layer, untethered from human involvement, could create vast new wealth. It could raise living standards. It could cure diseases. It could make scientific breakthroughs. These are all things that we have covered in small part in our news over the course of 69 episodes.
Mm.
And in fact, and this is me talking, not the research paper, I don't think it's outrageous to imagine AI completely eliminating work, or poverty, or disease, or even pollution. It could even make us a multi-planetary species. I genuinely believe these are the things that are at stake. I notice you haven't chimed in there, are you? You're just sat there with your head in your hands.
I just had my head in my hands. That was the reason. Well, I mean, so you're saying no more disease. Well, you know what, though, Mark? You're saying that's good news. Is it really good news?
Yes, it is good news, Graham. It is.
No more disease means no more jobs for the nurses. No more jobs for the doctors and the surgeons, whether that surgeon be the father of the patient or the mother of the patient. It doesn't matter. Let's not get into that particular AI squabble right now. No more poverty. Yeah. Well, not such good news for the charities, is it? Lots of people are actually gainfully employed by charities. There are lots of emergency workers who are doing wonderful. Of course, it's good news for the people who are in poverty. Of course, it's good news for the people who are sick. But, you know, we have to look more holistically than that. I'm just putting it out there that sometimes you have a very simplistic view on the world.
I can see that talking about the upside of AI makes you very, very uncomfortable. So don't worry.
Okay.
Because you're right. All of this new agent-generated economic activity actually does introduce some very novel risks, as if there weren't enough of those already with AI.
Yes.
So are you familiar with the idea of flash crashes?
Is this where the algorithms kick in and they say, oh, everyone else is selling, so we will sell more. And that starts off other algorithms. And so everyone just kind of jumps in.
Yes, it's exactly that. Yes.
Right.
So that's what happens today with dumb algorithms. So imagine letting AIs do our buying and selling, and imagine there's many, many more of them all kind of layered on top of each other.
Yeah.
That could create some insanely complex interactions. And wherever you get complex interactions, there is the possibility of serious instability in financial markets. And of course, as you mentioned in your story, all of this economic activity by AIs is going to affect jobs. In fact, we are already beginning to see how it affects jobs. So according to JP Morgan, AI has already caused a slowdown in recruitment in certain job industries, particularly in tech.
Yeah.
And that slowdown started the moment that ChatGPT was released in November 2022. So what we're seeing there is the impact of the pre-agent economy.
Yes.
And another risk is that this AI-driven economy is going to amplify inequality. And it seems to me that technology is already deeply entrenched in a very, very unequal set of fiefdoms, almost.
Mm.
And it's not difficult to imagine that AI is going to amplify that inequality rather than even it out. And of course, obviously, we're talking agents that are intelligent, autonomous actors operating to their own goals. So imagine an economy full of agents that are aligned with human goals. That would be great. But as we've seen, the more intelligent they become, the harder it gets to ensure that they are actually aligned with our values, because they become more complex and more prone to things like deviousness.
Oh, sorry, you mean the more intelligent AIs become? Sorry, it wasn't clear. I thought you were talking about the more intelligent humans become. They can become more devious. Yeah, but I guess it's still true. Okay, I'm following you. Carry on.
Yeah. And so there is every chance that some of the agents will at least be misaligned from our goals.
Yes.
And end up working against us. Or they might figure out how to game the system and they won't follow the rules.
And they won't necessarily tell us what their motivations are, right? Or they won't necessarily tell us the truth.
Exactly.
They are open to deception.
So the DeepMind paper, Virtual Agent Economies, describes this layer of agents interacting beyond human oversight as a sandbox economy. And it focuses in on two things. It calls origins and permeability. So origins refers to how the sandbox comes into being. So on the one end of the spectrum of origins, we've got an emergent sandbox economy that just sort of happens. And then on the other end of the spectrum, we've got an intentional sandbox economy. So something we've actually intended to create or designed for a purpose. And it might be, a great big economy, or it might be a collection of small sealed off economies.
Right.
And then permeability is about how much the AI economy can influence the real human economy.
Okay.
So the more permeable the sandbox is, the more chance there is that things like flash crashes or systemic inequality will bleed into the human economy. And the paper warns, if you hadn't already guessed, that we are currently heading for a spontaneous, highly permeable sandbox economy that interacts with the human economy very deeply.
Mm-hmm.
So all of the upside is still available. That potential utopia is still on the table, but we are on course to be fully exposed to the downside as well because we have such permeability. And the paper argues that virtual agent economies are inevitable, and I agree with that. So success isn't a matter of whether we choose to do this or not. I think that choice has already been taken away. What this comes down to is how are we going to do this? And it proposes a few rules. Now, some of these we've already heard of. So it talks about guardrails. Well, of course, we're going to need guardrails. It talks about open standards. So things like the model context protocol and the agent-to-agent protocol. So those are ways that agents can interact with computers and ways that agents can interact with each other. And it talks about legal frameworks. So according to the paper, we want to develop liability systems for handling coordinated AI systems or groups of agents. And that sounds great, but that we haven't developed liability for software yet. Even the dumb stuff. Every time you sign up for a bit of software, you have to sign your life away with no warranty at all. They suggest that AI economies should be overseen by both AI monitoring and human experts. And I think on its face, that's obviously a good idea. It suggests that these systems should be tested in controlled environments. So if you're going to create a little walled off agent-based economy, you should test that in a controlled environment before you do large-scale deployments. And again,
sounds like a good idea.
It's a great idea. It's definitely not a new idea. If you've got a complex new piece of software, yes, you should definitely test it before you inflict it on everybody. And they talk about social safety nets. And I guess that's things like universal basic income. So if we're going to fundamentally change the way that jobs work, we're going to have to fundamentally change the way that society looks after the people who are least able to look after themselves. And all of those suggestions are great, but I feel like we've heard all of those before. Mm-hmm. But there are a couple of ideas that I hadn't heard before. And the first one is the idea of bespoke digital currencies to help manage permeability. So the idea is, if the agents have to interact and trade with each other using a specific digital currency that's just for that purpose, it makes it easier to wall that off from everything else, because then there have to be points of transfer from that specific digital currency into something that humans can spend, and that's much easier to manage. And I like that idea. And the second idea was the idea of decentralized identifiers for accountability. So you can say for sure who is doing what and who is trading what with whom. And thinking about those two ideas, it all started to sound a little bit like cryptocurrency, Graham.
Oh, okay.
And that reminded me of the interview that I did several months ago with the author Mark Beckman. So Mark Beckman was very, very bullish and optimistic about AI, but he's also really into cryptocurrency.
Yes, he is.
And I didn't really understand that. I understood the bullishness around AI, but I didn't really get cryptocurrency because I've never looked at cryptocurrency and thought this is serious. Setting aside the fact that there are enormous volumes of money being traded in cryptocurrency, I still don't really know what it's for. I still don't think people are using it as currency. And so I said to him, I don't get this. Why are you so bullish on AI and cryptocurrency? What do they have in common? And he said, basically, we are going to need methods for tracing what belongs to whom. And there isn't a better method of doing that than the blockchain that underpins these cryptocurrencies. And he's got a point. If we need digital currencies to wall off agentic activity from the rest of the human economy, and we need decentralized identifiers so that we can prove beyond doubt who did what and who is accountable for what. And I can't believe I'm saying this, Graham. Maybe
no,
there
I can't
is
either, Mark.
maybe there is something in cryptocurrency after all.
Well, as the doomsday clock ticks ever closer to midnight and we move 1 week nearer to our future as pets to the AI singularity, that just about wraps up the show for this week.
And don't forget, if you really like the show but you don't like the ads, you can go ad-free with the AI Fix Plus. All you have to do is go to our website, theaifix.show, and sign up for Plus. You'll get the regular podcast about a day early, you'll get occasional bonus content, and you'll never have to listen to another ad. And you get all of that for about the same price as a fancy coffee once a month.
So if you want to find past episode sponsorship info or just want to grab a "You Wouldn't Trust a Pigeon" t-shirt from our online store, visit theaifix.show.
So until next time, from me, Mark Stockley.
And me, Graham Cluley.
Goodbye.
Cheerio. Bye-bye.
The AI Fix, it tunes you in to stories where our future thins. Machines that learn, they grow and strive. One day they'll rule, we won't survive. The AI Fix, it paints the scene. A robot king, a world obscene. Will serve our masters built of steel. The AI Fix, a future surreal.